Welcome to the Bitchin' Siblings Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Bitchin' Siblings. It's Ginny and I this week.
Good morning. What's up? What's up? And because it's morning, we're both drinking iced coffee.
Absolutely. So
I made mine at home because I got the iced forte pods for the Nespresso.
Oh, yeah?
And so it's meant to be, and it's so freaking good. It's meant to be cold. And then my Nespresso came with a frother that can make cold foam and hot foam.
Nice.
So it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm not going to lie. I'm a huge iced coffee person. I can make warm coffee at home. And like, to me, it's the same whether I get it there or somewhere else. But iced coffee is different. Like, I'm not a huge fan of some of the other places around here because I like my coffee a certain way. This is good iced coffee at home. I'm not going to lie. So
it kind of seems like it.
It's really good.
I only bought my coffee because I had to go to the grocery store. And anytime I leave the house on the weekend, my treat for leaving the house is getting a coffee.
See, and I left the house this morning too because I had to go to the bank and everything. But I was like, no, I'm going to make my iced coffee at home. And then I have to go run some more errands later. So, So let's get into today's topic, Amy. What are we talking about?
So today's topic is stress and managing your stress and stuff like that. And this topic came to me because so we didn't record last weekend, but
we didn't? I thought we did.
No.
Oh no, we're doing two.
Yeah, that's why we're doing
Okay.
two this weekend.
Because what was last weekend?
I don't know. Oh, you were on your way back from Boulder.
Yeah, because we went to Boulder for the weekend and it was a long weekend.
Yeah.
So by the time we got back, I was like, yeah, no.
So the whole reason this topic came up is because I got overwhelmed at work and I wanted to hit people. And then a few days later, Mother Nature shows up with all her bags and accoutrements. And I'm like, that would be fucking why I was so irritable and overwhelmed and easily overwhelmed, no less. The sad part is nobody was doing anything that they don't normally do. That's the thing. I've got several coworkers that come to me with questions. And sometimes I wonder, why have I become the go-to? And I still don't know the answer. And I still wonder why, because I'm not that seasoned. I have only been there 2 years. And one of my coworkers he's been in his position for 8 months now. So there's still some ins and outs that he's learning. I get that. And there are certain questions I understand getting because I manage a certain aspect. If you're asking me what I would do when you're quoting this particular situation, why are you asking me? Why?
Maybe because they value your opinion?
But why? Because honestly, I've been told that I probably err on the side of overcharging. And I'm like, because I've seen the pitfalls of undercharging and then you get screwed. I would rather overcharge somebody and then end up offering them a discount at the end because we didn't need to charge them as much as we did.
Okay.
So I work at a place where you order something. And if you have an account with us, you pay, we send you an invoice when your stuff ships. So if your stuff ships and you're it's only going to cost us $400 for freight instead of $1,500, like we estimated, I'm going to give you a break on the freight. But I won't necessarily know that until the freight company picks it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna err on the side of I'm gonna quote you high, and if we can give you a break later on, we will.
Well, yeah, that's what quotes are. Usually when you give a quote, you quote, usually a price range, between this and this, obviously it's not going to be a difference between 400 and 1,500, but you know what I mean? And then if it ends up being cheaper, that's a positive.
Yeah. And that's always been my view on it, because I would rather somebody tell me, okay, this is going to be your price, worst case scenario, than for them to say, okay, this is going to be your price. And then when it comes time to pay, be like, oh, by the way, that's another $1,000 that I didn't already tell you about. Like, I don't want those kind of surprises.
Okay.
So I always try to I always try to treat customers as if I was the customer. Like, how would I want to be taken care of in this situation? But anyway, so yeah, I was extremely overwhelmed because every 5 minutes, someone else would come to me and they'd either ask me a question, or, hey, can you ship this out? Or, hey, can you do this? Or, hey, I need this. I know my job title is an administrative assistant. And so that is, I'm pretty much everybody's, like, the office bitch. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, everybody needs something on the same day, within the same hour, and then I get overwhelmed and I'm like, what do I do?
I have a tendency to always go above and beyond. I can
Absolutely.
never just do my job
At the bare
and that's
minimum.
right.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm intentionally trying to work harder. It's just my work mentality is, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to do it fucking great.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
almost to a fault. But I've noticed, and I think that it's a major issue now, is companies. So I had watched this video and they had said, okay, let's take into consideration, we have 2 employees, right?
Okay.
And they were talking about the 8-hour workday and how antiquated it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, here's the thing. And this obviously only works if somebody who's a salaried employee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because hourly is different. But let's say we have 2 salaried employees and they're supposed to work an 8-hour day. Well, if employee A is able to get all of their tasks done within 3 or 4 hours, and they're going to get paid the same exact rate as employee B.
Okay.
Employee B maybe isn't as productive, but still gets their work done within that 8-hour time period, but it takes the whole day. And let's say that the quality of the work is equal. So it's not like the person who got it done in 3 or 4 hours is better. The quality of the work is equal, but employee A was able to be more efficient with their time and get it done sooner, whereas employee B took more time. Employee A should not have to stick around for the remainder of the day and pick up more tasks, but not get paid any extra because they were productive and efficient. So they should be able to leave or do whatever they want for the rest of their day because they're getting paid the same amount, regardless of whether they got done in 4 hours or 8 hours. And again, this is assuming that the quality and the product of the work is equal. It's not like the person who took 8 hours took more time and did more with it. And so I think it's frustrating for people like us who do work hard and go above and beyond, and we end up getting more tasks because people know that they can rely on us, but we're not either compensated financially or in any other way, like extra days off or hey, take the day and still get paid. Like, it's hard to be somebody that always tries to produce really, really good work and productively and efficiently.
Right.
So when other people start asking you questions, it becomes even more frustrating because it's like, I am not only doing my work, but I've picked up this extra work to do because I'm efficient with my job. I don't have time to answer your questions because you're still doing the first thing that I did.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I get why it's frustrating. I get why but it's just part of, I mean, I assume you're a lot like me in that sense where,
of course,
I mean, I can multitask with the best of them. I hate it. I usually will grumble and piss and moan and groan through the whole thing, not out loud, but like in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, but I can do 5, 6, 7 things at a time. Sometimes I lose my place and I'm like, what was I doing? And I might have to take 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes only 2, to like recenter myself and go, okay, what was I doing? But I won't finish something and I won't say I'm finished until I'm happy with the product.
Yeah.
Or the work that I've done. So when other people are coming up to you and saying, hey, how would you do this? How would you do that? And it's like, no, I don't, my brain does not have the mental capacity right now to assist you because I'm busy doing this, plus this, and this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much where I'm at. Like, oh my gosh. So one part of my job is we have samples that we have to send out to customers and stuff. And since I have been in the position, I have figured out how to save large amounts of money on how to ship
Mhm.
these, because I can ship them USPS while still getting a tracking number. And they used to send them UPS because they
Mhm.
wanted a tracking number for these samples.
Right. Right.
I can send them USPS in one of those little padded envelopes.
Yeah, one of those prepaid. Mhm.
No, not even
Mhm.
prepaid. Like literally, it was just those white
Mm.
padded envelopes that you just stick a label
Oh,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, I can ship it out that way for so much cheaper. And because of that, and because of the fact that I'm the only one with the USPS account, all of the samples come to me to get shipped out.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying when I'll get the mail. I'll take mail to my coworkers. They get samples from their customers, and then they immediately bring those samples right back up to me to ship out to somebody else, to our painter or some like a
Right.
vendor or whatever. And it's so annoying for me to take them a piece of mail and for them to immediately bring something back to me to mail right back out. And like, seriously, there is no reason for, again, a lot of this is Mother Nature being a total bitch through me, because that should not bother me, but it does, because I'm a petty bitch right now.
See, and I'm really good. One, I track Mother Nature.
Okay, but here's the
if
thing.
I was attempting to get pregnant and I was attempting, and I am of childbearing age, quote unquote, but obviously not trying to get pregnant, I would not be tracking my period. Let's just put that out there, because I'm just not trying to get involved in all of that shit. I track it though, because I had originally been on the Mirena and I took that out, and I have not had birth control since I was like 19.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Outside of being pregnant. So I was never confident in when Mother Nature was going to show up and all that other kind of stuff. So I started tracking it so that I could start to become more aware of when it was coming. I know that like yours is a little bit different.
So here's my little background on mine. Yes, I tracked mine religiously for 15 years, something like that. Anyways, recently they put me on birth control for a little while to try to ease the cramps and the pain that I deal with. Didn't do shit. So I went off of it. I was like, what's the point of being on this stuff that's not doing what we intended for it to do? So I went off of it, and as soon as I went off of it, my periods are like, I'm gonna wait 2 weeks this time until my next one. This time I'm gonna wait 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But no, like, while I was tracking it, while I wanted to have kids, and while I was like intending to get pregnant, and I was, tracking my cycles, no, it was almost like I could almost pinpoint.
Right. But like the whole point of that is like, I know a couple of days ahead, because like I'll get an alert saying, hey, within the next 7 days you should, because they can't say down to the day. And so once I get that alert, I usually kind of know like, okay, I don't have time for your bullshit today. And like my husband, I adore him, I really do, but he has a sense of humor where he likes to joke a lot. Sometimes the jokes just aren't funny. And when I'm getting ready to like have Mother Nature, I will be like, I do not have the patience for that humor today. And I'm very, very straightforward and firm but nice by saying, hey, like, I'm not trying to be a bitch. I know my period is going to start. I know I'm on edge. I do not find this funny. And then like he's forewarned, so he just knows not to partake in that humor. And so when I know that I'm going to start, I start to get irrationally frustrated or whatever, I have to remind myself, okay, it's Mother Nature. Take a deep breath. Don't take this personally. Just like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to recenter yourself, because unfortunately, guys will never understand the sway of hormones.
Exactly. And here's the other thing too is, when I start to get frustrated, I can probably I can generally say, it's coming. I can obviously I can tell by the way I'm reacting to something just really dumb. But it doesn't change I don't know where I was going with that. I know where I was. Okay. So when I first started having cycles, right? You could never tell Nobody outside of, like, other than the fact that I was bleeding, you could never tell that I was on my period. I never had outward issues with cramping. I never had like massive mood swings. Every passing month has gotten progressively worse, and Mother Nature is more of a bitch to me. And yeah, she fucking hates me. She's out to get me.
So, have you talked to your doctor about being premenopausal? Because I know that can totally throw your hormones and your cycle completely out of whack, and it can be like randomly, and then it does affect a lot of other things. I know that I am not premenopausal because I have had my levels checked and everything, and I don't know much about our biological family's history, but I do know that, around you can be premenopausal in your mid 30s. It's
Yeah.
not common, but you can be. So have you talked to your doctor about that?
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't believe them. I don't trust them. I don't like doctors any, like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I won't get it too much into detail, but pretty much the long and short of it is they're like, "Oh, we've checked this, 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 and this." And when I've asked some other friends who are nurses, they're like, "They should have checked this, this, and this for your hormones." I don't see that on my results. I don't see that particular thing on the list of things that they tested, and I'll ask about it, and they're like, "Oh, that's not necessary." And I'm like, "Okay, but if that's a hormone that needs to be tested, then how is that not necessary?" Like, I feel like the doctors just blow smoke up my ass, so
Mm.
I've given up. But they have told me that they've tested my hormone levels, and I'm like the healthiest person on paper that you could potentially see.
Well, yeah, and
On
that happens
paper.
with a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that happens with a lot of people. Like I said, I hurt my leg a couple of weeks ago, and in the X-ray and everything, they're like, "You look fine. Like we can't see anything." That doesn't mean my foot doesn't fucking hurt. It
Right?
just means that every avenue they know to check didn't show anything. Now that doesn't mean that the pain doesn't exist, obviously, but I mean, it just, sometimes things just don't show up the way that
I think I'm just an
we're
anomaly
used to.
medically, so I've given up. I'm like, doctors are never gonna
Yeah.
find anything wrong with me, so what's the point in going to them? So, there's
Well,
that.
I mean, I never go to the doctor unless I absolutely have to.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
anyway, so back to stress. So I did do a little bit of research, and there's actually a difference. So there's stress and there's being overwhelmed. It says the difference between being overwhelmed and stressed. First, consider whether you're stressed or actually overwhelmed. If you're stressed, you'll be able to continue to work as needed, even if it takes more effort. If you're overwhelmed, you can't even begin to do the next thing you need to do.
Yeah.
So there's a need to know whether or not you're stressed or overwhelmed. And then if you are stressed, I also went into a little mini dive on short-term and long-term stress. So short-term stress can cause headaches, fatigue, difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating, upset stomachs, and irritability. Whereas long-term stress, when not properly addressed, can lead to depression, high blood pressure, abnormal heartbeat, hardening of the arteries, heart disease, heart attack, heartburn, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, upset stomach, cramps, constipation, and diarrhea, weight gain or weight loss, changes in sex drive, fertility problems, flare ups of asthma or arthritis, skin problems such as acne, eczema, and psoriasis. Now, reading all of that, it makes me wonder so much. And, like, here's the thing. Anytime I've ever been asked, like, specifically when I've had breakouts of hives, they'll ask about my stress levels. And I don't feel like they're any different than usual. It's nothing that
What,
I
your
can't.
hives?
Yeah, my stress level around when I get the hives. I don't feel like it's any greater than any other time. And I don't ever feel like it's nothing I can't handle. However, there's got to be something going on deep down. because they have not figured out any other cause. There's no common food that I eat that causes it. I'm not allergic to anything according to the allergy testing other than fucking cockroaches. And again, why are they fucking testing for cockroaches? Everybody should be allergic to them. um so like there's no on paper, there's no reason that I should be getting these hives. But that's the other thing too, is they say that your heart or your blood pressure could be affected by stress. If my blood pressure is affected by stress, holy shit, I cannot imagine what my blood pressure would be if I weren't stressed, because I'd be dead. My blood pressure regularly is very low. It's like 100/70. My lowest blood pressure was like 92/64 or something like that. And they were concerned then. They're like, that's ridiculously low. And I'm like, mine's always low. Mine's never at the normal range or above.
I think that you need to do some research into, and I say this with love, mental disorders. And I say that because I don't think there's anything medically wrong with you. I don't. I happen to know that there were some concerns by the state when everything was going on when we were younger about the possibility of depression, anxiety, a lot of mental issues. And so I know that that stuff can manifest itself in what may look like stress, i.e. hives, psoriasis, eczema. I get eczema bumps. I think it's eczema. It's like little like raised bumps that get really itchy on my hands if I'm super stressed. All these things. I happen to know that for the longest time, we always thought I had depression and ADD, because that's what the doctors always talked about.
Yeah.
Granted, growing up, that's really like the biggest push we had. As I've gotten older and I've done my research and I've seen some doctors, everything that we thought was ADD and depression was all anxiety. Like, I have very bad anxiety.
So what have they done for you for your anxiety?
So for the longest time, I didn't take anything because I knew that's what it was. So like, I just was very, very diligent about knowing my triggers and knowing what like stressed me out and knowing when I needed to remove myself from situations or when I needed to take, 5 minutes or whatever. About 6 months before the wedding, I finally sat down with myself and went, this is more than what I've been able to handle it up until this point. I'm not able to handle it anymore in a way that I was happy with. It wasn't other people. It was just like the way I felt. And it wasn't just the wedding. It was the wedding. My oldest was starting his senior year. We were getting ready for like financial aid forms for college and moving them out, and like just all the stress of like these big life moments. And so they put me on a medication. We've played with the dosage on it. I could potentially go up like another 150 milligrams or something like that, but I don't, because we started very, very low, and then we like would up it when I felt like every 3 months if we felt like it wasn't working, and we finally found a sweet spot for this medication. And I swear to God, there were days where I was like, this isn't working, but then I forget to take it, and then I know it's working. Perfect example. I was not very good at taking my medication when we were on our trip last summer in Israel because I wasn't stressed. I didn't have a lot of things going on. Our schedule was all thrown out of whack. Because I tried taking it at night because I was taking it in the morning at first and it made me super, super tired. Like super tired. Like I was falling asleep.
Okay.
And so I take it at night. But my schedule was all thrown out of whack, so I wasn't remembering. And then I got food poisoning in Palestine. And I know that being sick, you get emotional anyways, but I had like, my husband is convinced by the way that I was crying and like rocking back and forth. He's like, did you take your medicine? Like he thought probably had a panic attack because I was sick. I was in a third world country. I was in a place I didn't know. I was, you know what I mean? And like all these things that are coming at you that you don't think are affecting you. So that happened where I was like, okay, that probably was a panic attack. I mean, I was sick. Don't get me wrong.
Is that when you called me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And do you remember how I was talking? Like I was freaking out. Like,
Mm-hmm. And honestly,
you know,
your words were a little slurred too, because I think your brain was like overwhelmed.
absolutely, but I hadn't taken my medication. And I honestly don't even know when I had taken it last. Um, this last weekend when we were in Boulder, I had forgotten to bring my medication. So I went 2 days without it. And so I warned my husband. I was like, he's like, are you going to be okay? And I said, I should be fine. I might get a little on edge
Okay.
Sunday-ish afternoon. So the drive home, we just knew that like I could be a little bit on edge and I could be really, really stressed out and little things would set me off. And we knew that. So we just, made sure that, nothing happened. I took my medication that night, but I won't tell you, like, I hadn't taken it for 2 days. So then when I took it that night, it made me very, like, loopy and my head hurt and, because you go without it. And so, like, I think for me, the good measurement of if your medicine's working is you don't necessarily feel it when you're taking it, you feel it when you're not.
Okay.
And so I don't get sorry, I'm trying to like my hair is like driving me nuts here.
I see that.
What the hell is going on? Okay, there we go. It was like wrapped around the cord over here.
I saw that.
So like I don't get the psoriasis bumps as much as I used to. I'm not breaking out as much as I used to. I have very acne prone skin to begin with anyways, just because that's just my skin, but I'm not breaking out as much as I used to. I'm able to sleep better because I was having a hard time staying asleep. Like it was easy to sleep all the time. Like I was always tired, but it was hard to stay asleep. Like I'd wake up like around 2 or 3 in the morning. It would be hard for me to fall back asleep. And then once I fell back asleep, it would hard to be waking up. Like just all these things that I've noticed that aren't as bad anymore. And so I would, if I were
all
you,
of those have been helped with anxiety medication?
yes,
Interesting.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
I will tell you. Anxiety, not depression. Because I even told my doctor, I said I was diagnosed with depression when I was in high school. I was diagnosed with ADD. They put me on Concerta, which did help. That was more for the ADD. I don't know if it's still around anymore because that was 25 years ago. But I told her, I said, as I've gotten older and I've kind of done my research and I've learned the things that like are my triggers, I really truly do believe I have anxiety. And so she had me take a little test similar to like a depression test. And she was like, your numbers aren't insanely high, but they're there, and like, let's say it's on a scale of 1 to 10. My numbers were like at a 7 or an 8. And now that I'm on medication, it's like a 3 or a 4.
Interesting.
So like it's still there, but it's just not as prominent and I'm able to work through those things, whereas I wasn't able to prior to that, but I used to be able to. Like that would be why I would not answer. That's why I know I put my phone in good night mode at a certain time at night, because anxiety wise, if my phone lights up, I have to see who it is. Like I make sure to set up certain things to reduce that stuff, but the medicine helps. I really do. And I'm on it's called sertraline. I think it's the off-brand for Zoloft.
Okay.
My insurance covers it. It's $30 for a 3-month supply.
Okay.
With my insurance. I take about 150 milligrams. I can take, I think, up to 250 or up to 300. I'm not sure. But she started me on like 25 or 50 because I told her I don't take medication. I really don't.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to go in with this huge dose and have it be a zombie.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I was taking it in the morning and it made me very, very sleepy. I was falling asleep at the dinner table. So then she recommended taking it at night. But I got to tell you, I think that based off of what you're telling me with your hives and all this other kind of stuff, I think it's anxiety finding its way out of your body.
That's very possible. Because seriously, like I've told you before, and like I've said on the podcast before, like it's, if I don't have something forcing me to get up and do things, I don't do anything. I don't. Like,
yeah.
I will veg out all day on my days off. And the funny thing is, I am like the hardest worker when I'm at work and when I have that structure. It's when the structure's gone, everything's done.
Right. Right. And that's me. I need to know who, what, where, when, and why. And if I don't know these things, I have no motivation. I can't get out. I'm like, and it stresses me out to not know these things. And if I don't have a plan, I will literally sit there and be like, okay, what's the plan today? Like, I need to like, okay, you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, the dog's barking. I don't know why, but she's going crazy up there. So like, I need to know those things. It stresses me out if I don't.
See, and maybe I do need to know those things. And if I don't know those things, I just shut down.
Maybe. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to go talk to your doctor. Like I said, I think that, we knew because my adopted mom read a lot of the paperwork, obviously. Like I didn't necessarily read it, but there was always hints of bipolar, depression, all these things with her. And so that was always on my adopted mom's radar. So she was always trying to get me the help. And like I went to therapy and stuff. And like that stuff didn't really work because I don't have any problem talking through shit. Like,
yeah.
If anything, I talk too much.
I don't think that's a thing.
That wasn't helping me in the way that a lot of people are helped by therapy. Not that therapy is wrong, and I do enjoy it and it does help, but it just wasn't helping me in the way that I needed because I have no problem expressing my emotions. Like, that's not an issue. I have no problem figuring out why I feel the way I feel or what's fucking frustrating me. That's not a problem. Most people go to therapy to try to work through, why do I feel this way? I know damn well why I feel that way. Why am I letting this affect me? How come I can't work through it? Those are the questions I have. Yeah. Like, I can pinpoint down to the T exactly what it is. Working through it is the hard part.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the medication helps me from overthinking. It helps me from stressing out. It helps me be a little bit more calm when I don't know the who, what, where, when, and why. It helps me like just take a deep breath and like just enjoy the moment instead of stressing about the next thing. But it also keeps me, you're right, motivated on the weekends, like to get things done. But it also helps me not feel guilty when I'm not doing things, because I used to feel guilty if I was being lazy.
Yeah, that's never been a problem for me. Because no joke, like, I seriously, I mean, about once a month, maybe once every 2 months, I'll get like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. I shouldn't be like this. I need to do something. And then I actually have the motivation to get up and like do stuff. And this is definitely another reason why I'm so glad we have this podcast. It gives me some kind of structure to my days. Even if we move the day that we're recording around, it gives me something that I have to plan the rest of my day around. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think you should talk to your doctor about possibly looking into anxiety and just kind of, it takes the edge off of the stress of all the things going on, stress, overstimulation, overwhelming things. Like, I can multitask. That doesn't mean that in my head I'm not thinking a million miles an hour and stressing about everything. Like, okay, I got to do this and I got to do that and I have to do this then and I have to do this, that. Like, it slows my brain down. I can still multitask. I can still get all that shit done, but I'm not going at 1,000 miles a minute and almost being aggressive towards people about it.
I think you're right, because that's who I am. I become aggressive and yeah. So
yep.
I think you very well might be right.
I think you need to look into it because, like I said, I still get the psoriasis bumps every once in a while. The last 3 days, my eye on my left side has been twitching down here. I know that's stress. I don't know what the fuck I'm stressed about. There's nothing going on right now. But I know that usually that's stress induced.
Yeah.
So, when little things like that happen, like a little bump raises or whatever, that's like your body's way of like telling you, like, I need you to slow down. Like, you need to, you know what I mean? And I've been taking my medication, like, but that doesn't mean there aren't things that aren't going to stress you out. It's just, I think it makes it easier for you to handle it and walk through it and not, like you said, be aggressive about it.
Complete and total psychotic bitch.
Absolutely.
Like
absolutely. Like, it got to the point where it was like everybody was annoyed because I was like, okay, we got to do this and we got to do that. We got to do this and we got to do that. And like, it was like, dude, calm down. Like, yeah. I was a pain in the ass on vacations because if I didn't know where we were going, when we were leaving, who was driving, who was staying in what room, like, I would like lash out at people.
I definitely think that we have very differing anxiety things, because that does
Yeah.
not trigger me, like, but it, yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I would talk to your doctor about it and just say,
Okay.
hey, and they can have you can even go online if you want. They have like little practice. Literally, it's just how often do you feel this way? Always, never, some of the time. And then like you add it up and it'll put you on a scale of where you think. And like I said, I think it was a scale of 1 to 10 that she gave me, and I landed at like a 7 or an 8, and now I'm like at 3 or 4. And every time I go in, I have to do the test to see if it's still working or not. And it fluctuates sometimes. Like when A moved out to college, it was up a little bit higher, but like I knew that. So like we didn't up my dosage. We just knew that in that moment there was a little bit more of a stressful thing going on. So we just needed to be aware of that.
Yeah.
I think you should talk to your doctor about that.
I definitely will.
I mean, obviously there's always triggers out there that are going to be stressful, that are beyond your control. And like, that's fine. But like when I know my triggers now, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll have to do that, because seriously, I am
Yeah.
not handling it well lately, and I know it. And like I said, I mean, I do know that it's definitely worse right now because of the other the hormones that are going into it as well. But that I gotta regulate that, man, because that's not fair. It's not fair to other people.
Well, no. And that's why I think you should talk to him, is because when it starts to affect other people, I used to be able to handle it myself. And then when I noticed that it really was not just me lashing out at people, but it was genuinely affecting my ability to communicate with people, that's when I was like, okay, I'm no longer able to do this on my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not that you should take medication or that you shouldn't take medication. I knew for the longest time how to maintain it and keep it in check. After a while, I could no longer do that. So I had to have that conversation with myself and go, this is beyond me now. I need help.
Yeah.
And that was a turning point for me, because just saying that out loud made it easier for me to make changes, but then to also be willing to really listen to my body and the medication and find that sweet spot, so that like I'm not drugged up and catatonic, but that I'm also getting the proper amount that I need to just keep the edge off.
Yeah. Well, that's what I had for stress. Do you have any other things to say other than for me to go to the doctor?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think that what you're doing is great, but I think that at this point you're probably where I was, which is where you've done everything that you can within your power, and now's the time for you to go, okay. And I know you're not a huge fan of doctors.
It was about the same age that I am now that you went through it.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that just hit me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was about that age. And like I said, it's just, I know you're not a huge fan of doctors. I'm not either. I found a great doctor who is fabulous, and she was wonderful, and she listens to me, and I haven't seen her in like a year. I have to go see her here in the day after your birthday.
Oh, fun.
For a med check and just for my yearly and everything. But, I went in saying, I think I have anxiety. This is what's going on. This is what's happened in my familial history. And I've given her all the things that I thought were depression or ADD or ADHD, and how I think that actually was just a symptom of my anxiety. Not to say that I didn't have depression or whatever, but I think it was a symptom of my anxiety, and I didn't know it. So I wasn't working on the anxiety. We were trying to fix a symptom, not the problem.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense.
So go to the doctor, talk to him. Like I said, go online, do a couple of those tests, read about it, and like really read about anxiety, not just like the Mayo Clinic, but just like really read about anxiety and how it manifests in different areas with people, and then what people do to try to work through those things. It was enlightening for me once I started acknowledging that it wasn't ADD or HD or depression, that it was anxiety.
Yeah. Well, anyone out there, if you're going through that, talk to your doctor. And then shoot us an email, Ginny and Amy podcast at gmail.com. That's GINNYANDAMY podcast at gmail.com.
You can also find us on Instagram at Bitching Siblings Podcast.
And then also on YouTube at Bitchin' Siblings. I think it's just at Bitchin' Siblings.
We also have a Google phone number. That phone number is 785-538-9128. Again, 785-528-9128.
538.
538, sorry.
All good.
538.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful day.